I don't remember the exact moment it all changed, but I'll never forget the letter. It was a crisp autumn morning when I received it. A simple white envelope, the kind you'd expect to find tucked into a generic office drawer. Nothing out of the ordinary. The only distinguishing feature was the name on the return address, Clara Davenport. My mother. Now, most people would probably find that odd. I wasn't expecting any letter from my mother. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Years filled with distance, bitterness, and unspoken words. After all, it wasn't as if she had left me a will or any instructions. She had made it clear years ago that we were strangers in her eyes, and I had become too resentful to care. So when the letter arrived, I thought it was some kind of mistake, a wrong address, or maybe one of those strange, late-in-life regrets parents often have. But when I opened it, my world, quite literally, turned upside down. The letter was short and concise, the kind of thing that would leave you shaking your head in disbelief if you didn't know better. My dearest son, it began. I've never been good with words, so I'll be blunt. There's something you need to know. Something I should have told you a long time ago. But I didn't. Now, as I'm nearing the end of my life, I think it's time you understood. You are not who you think you are. The inheritance I've left you is not the true gift. The real treasure is in what I've hidden for you. Find it, and you will understand. That was it. No explanation. No further context. Just a chillingly simple instruction. For the first time in years, I felt my heart race. I thought I was ready for anything. After all, how could a mother who had abandoned me over a decade ago suddenly be part of some twisted scavenger hunt? But as I stared at that letter in my hands, I couldn't shake the growing suspicion that there was something deeper here. Something more dangerous. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not even Olivia. She wouldn't understand. At that point, I couldn't even explain it to myself. But deep down, I knew I had to find out what she was talking about. It wasn't just about the inheritance, the money, or even the secrets she had kept from me all these years. It was about the one thing my mother had taken from me, closure. That afternoon, I sat down at my desk, the letter lying in front of me like a cryptic riddle. My hands shook as I reread the words over and over, trying to make sense of them. What was this about? What was hidden? And why now? I ran through all the possibilities in my mind. Perhaps it was a final act of redemption from a woman who had never been present in my life. Or maybe it was some twisted form of control. One last manipulation before she vanished from my existence entirely. Either way, I knew one thing. I had no choice but to follow the trail she had set before me. But here's the thing. This is where it all went wrong. I thought I could handle whatever my mother had in store for me. I thought I was ready to unlock whatever secrets had been buried for so long. But what I didn't know was that the discovery wouldn't just change my life. It would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage, my relationship, and even myself. Because Olivia, my wife, she wasn't just the person I thought I knew. She wasn't just my partner. She had secrets of her own, and she was already one step ahead of me. The days following the letter felt surreal. I couldn't escape the thoughts that circled in my head like a never-ending storm. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the cryptic message my mother had left behind. Why now? What was hidden? And most importantly, why had she chosen me of all people to uncover it? I spent the next few nights combing through the small amount of belongings she'd left behind. When she passed, her estate had been settled quickly. Nothing extravagant, just a small house and a few savings in an account. I had assumed that was all she had. But after receiving that letter, everything felt off. The more I searched, the more the feeling of something lurking in the shadows grew. There was a deep sense that my mother's death wasn't just an end. It was the start of something bigger. I had to know what she meant by find it. I wasn't prepared for what I found. I never expected the answer to come in the form of an old, worn-out journal tucked away at the bottom of a drawer in her study. It wasn't much to look at, just a simple leather-bound book, its pages yellowed with age. But something about it seemed important. I opened it cautiously, the pages crinkling with each turn. The first entry was dated years before I was even born. My mother had written about her life in a way I had never heard before, about struggles, secrets, and even the man she had loved before my father. It was almost as if she was confessing to the world, but there was nothing in the journal that explained the inheritance or the treasure she'd hinted at. I read through entry after entry, the weight of her words pressing on my chest. It wasn't until I reached the very last page that something caught my eye. In faded ink, she had written a single sentence that would change everything. The key lies beneath the floorboards in the study. The truth will unlock everything. I froze. Beneath the floorboards? What was she talking about? I had to see for myself. My heart was pounding now, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of urgency. That night, I didn't tell Olivia where I was going or what I was doing. I couldn't risk anyone knowing what I was about to uncover. The idea of opening that door to my mother's hidden truth was too big to share with anyone. It was something I had to face on my own. I drove to my mother's house late into the evening. The air was thick with tension, and the moon hung high, casting an eerie light on the quiet street. The house looked empty, abandoned almost. The kind of place where memories come to die, where the air is thick with regret. But this time, it felt different. It felt like something was waiting for me. I stepped inside, the old wooden floors creaking beneath my feet. The study was just as I remembered, shelves lined with books, the desk cluttered with papers, and the smell of dust and old wood lingering in the air. But this time, I wasn't there to reminisce. I was there to find answers. I knelt down and, with trembling hands, pulled up one of the floorboards in the corner of the room. My breath caught in my throat as I noticed a small metal box hidden beneath. It was rusted, old, but it was definitely out of place. I pried it open, my heart racing with anticipation. Inside, there were documents, old, brittle papers with names I didn't recognize. But at the very bottom of the box was a small, unmarked envelope. I opened it slowly, my fingers shaking as I pulled out what appeared to be a deed to a piece of property. But it wasn't just any property. It was a mansion, a sprawling estate, tucked away in a remote part of the country. And the deed was signed with my mother's name. But that wasn't the most shocking part. The date on the document was just a few months before she passed. I sat there for a moment, stunned. Why had she never mentioned this to me? Why was this hidden from everyone? And most importantly, why had she left it for me to find? But as I stared at the deed, another thought struck me. Olivia. I had barely even thought about her in the midst of all this. She was probably wondering where I was, what I was doing. But that wasn't the only thing that concerned me. The more I thought about the letter, the journal, and now this deed, the more I realized that my mother had been hiding more than just material wealth. She had been hiding a part of her life that I had never known, secrets that would change everything I thought I knew. I rushed home, barely able to focus on the road, my mind racing. What was I going to do with this information? And why had Olivia been so quiet lately? Was she really just a supportive wife, or had she known more about my mother's secrets than she had let on? When I got back to the house, Olivia was waiting for me. She looked up from her book as I walked in, and I could see the concern in her eyes. "Where were you?" she asked, her voice soft, but with an edge of suspicion. I tried to brush it off, but the tension in the room was palpable. Just needed some time to think. She didn't say anything for a long moment, but I could tell she wasn't buying it. I wasn't prepared to share what I had discovered, but somehow, I knew that the truth would come out eventually. Whether I was ready or not, Olivia was going to find out what my mother had hidden, and that was just the beginning. I barely slept that night. My mind was consumed with questions, and every time I tried to drift off, the image of that deed, the mansion, kept flashing in my mind. Why had my mother never told me about it? Why hide it? And the most terrifying question, why had she left it for me to find? There had to be a reason. There had to be something more to it. The next morning, Olivia noticed the change in me right away. I could tell by the way she looked at me as I sat down at the kitchen table, the corners of her lips curling into a faint smile. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, her voice light, almost playful. But there was something in her eyes, a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. I didn't answer her immediately. Instead, I stared down at the coffee in front of me, letting the steam rise between us. The weight of the deed, the truth of the mansion, it all felt so heavy. I wanted to tell her, to share the burden, but part of me felt like I couldn't. Not yet. I didn't trust her with this. Something about the way she'd been acting lately had set off alarm bells in my mind, but I couldn't put my finger on it. "You okay?" Olivia asked again, more seriously this time. I nodded, not wanting to reveal too much. "Just thinking." She didn't push it, but her gaze lingered on me for a moment longer than usual. Something was off, I could tell. She seemed too calm, too collected, as though she knew something I didn't. After breakfast, I excused myself, my thoughts still swirling like a storm. I couldn't sit there any longer. I needed answers, and I needed to see that mansion for myself. I spent the entire afternoon driving, my mind racing as the landscape blurred past me. The mansion was located in a secluded area, far from any major towns. It wasn't easy to get to. It was off the beaten path, hidden away by thick trees and overgrown vegetation. The closer I got to the property, the more uneasy I became. It felt like stepping into a different world, a place where time stood still and secrets were waiting to be uncovered. As I turned down the narrow, winding road that led to the mansion, I couldn't help but notice how silent everything seemed. No birds, no rustling leaves, not a single car in sight. It was as though the world had gone quiet, holding its breath for what was about to come. And then, there it was. The mansion stood before me, an imposing structure that seemed to rise out of the earth itself. It was grand, yes, but there was something unnerving about it. The windows were dark, reflecting nothing but the gray sky above. The stone facade, once majestic, was now chipped and crumbling in places. Ivy crawled up the walls like a living thing, threatening to overtake the building entirely. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years, perhaps decades. I parked the car and stood there for a moment, just staring at the mansion. It felt like a piece of history, but one that was better left untouched. Still, the deed was in my hands, and I couldn't turn back now. I walked toward the front door, the sound of my footsteps strangely loud in the otherwise still air. When I reached the door, I hesitated. There was something inherently wrong about this place, something that made my skin crawl. But I knew I had to go inside. I had to see for myself what my mother had been hiding all these years. The door creaked open as I pushed it, the rusty hinges groaning in protest. I stepped inside, and immediately, the smell of dust and decay hit me. It was dark, but the faint light from the windows cast long shadows across the floor. The air was thick with the weight of abandonment. I wandered through the halls. Each room I entered filled with forgotten memories. Antique furniture, draped in dust sheets, stood in silence, as though waiting for someone to come back and take their place. It was like walking through a mausoleum, a tomb for secrets long buried. But then, in the farthest corner of the mansion, I found something unexpected, a door. It was small, almost hidden, behind a curtain of old, musty fabric. The door wasn't like the others. It was solid, sturdy, and when I reached out to touch the handle, I felt a strange pull. Something about this door felt different. It wasn't just part of the mansion. It felt secret. I opened it, and what I found on the other side made my stomach drop. The room was small, cluttered with boxes and old papers. But in the center of the room, standing on a pedestal, was something that made my blood run cold. A portrait of my mother, Clara. But this wasn't just any portrait. The woman in the painting didn't look like the mother I knew. The woman who had been so cold, so distant. This woman had a different expression, one I had never seen before, one that seemed almost knowing, as though she had been part of something far darker than I could ever imagine. And beneath the portrait, there was something else. A chest. It was old, but it was made of fine wood, inlaid with intricate designs. It was locked, but the key was resting on top of it, as if someone had left it there just for me. My heart raced as I picked up the key. The moment my fingers wrapped around it, I felt a surge of energy, like a current running through me. It was as if the chest itself was calling to me, urging me to open it. I didn't hesitate. The moment I unlocked the chest, everything changed. Inside were more documents, dozens of them. Papers that seemed to be tied to something far larger than I could comprehend. I pulled them out one by one, my hands shaking. But it wasn't just the papers that shocked me. It was what was hidden beneath them. A journal. But not just any journal. It was my mother's journal, yes, but it was filled with cryptic drawings, notes, and names I didn't recognize. And at the very end, there was a final entry. The truth is closer than you think, Ethan. Olivia knows more than you realize. She's been part of it from the beginning. But she won't tell you, because she's already made her choice. The words hit me like a slap in the face. Olivia. She knew. She had known all along. I stood frozen in the dimly lit room, the journal in my hands trembling as I read the words over and over. Olivia knew. She had been a part of it all along. But what did that mean? My mind raced, desperately trying to connect the dots, but the picture just wouldn't come together. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, about my mother, about my life, it was all coming undone. How could Olivia have been involved in something this deep, this dark? And why hadn't she told me? I shoved the journal back into the chest, my mind whirling. I couldn't stand there any longer, not knowing what to do with this new revelation. I needed to confront Olivia. I had to know the truth. But as I stepped toward the door, I froze. A noise. It was faint, but unmistakable. I strained my ears, listening carefully. Someone was outside the door. My heart pounded in my chest. Who could it be? Had Olivia followed me? Had she somehow known I was here? I glanced around the room for a way out, but there was nowhere to hide. The door was the only way in or out. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. Slowly, I reached for the handle, ready to face whatever, or whoever, was waiting for me. As I opened the door, I was met with the last person I expected to see. It was Olivia, but she wasn't alone. Standing next to her was a man I didn't recognize, his tall figure casting a long shadow in the doorway. He was older, maybe in his 50s, with a look that screamed authority, someone used to being in control. His eyes locked onto mine, cold and calculating. Olivia's face was a mask of tension, but she didn't look surprised. It was as if she had been expecting me all along. "Ethan," Olivia said, her voice strangely calm, as though nothing had changed. "We need to talk." I could barely process her words. The last thing I wanted was to have a calm conversation. My mind was screaming, demanding answers. "What the hell is going on here, Olivia? Who is this man? And why the hell didn't you tell me about any of this?" Olivia stepped forward, her gaze soft but guarded. "This isn't what you think." I felt the anger rising in me, but I swallowed it down, trying to remain in control. I had to hear her out. She had to explain. But everything inside me screamed that this wasn't just a misunderstanding. There was something far more sinister at play here. "This man," Olivia continued, nodding toward the stranger, "is someone who's been helping us. He's been a part of everything." She turned her eyes back to me, and for the first time in years, I saw a hint of guilt. "Ethan, I didn't want to involve you. I didn't want to hurt you. But there's so much you don't understand." I took a step back, feeling the weight of the words pressing down on me. "What do you mean? You've been involved in what? And who is this guy?" The stranger spoke for the first time, his voice deep and steady, as if he were used to being in control of any situation. "My name is Simon Carter. I've been working with your mother for years. And I've been working with Olivia." He paused, letting that sink in before continuing. "The inheritance, Ethan, it's not just about money. It's never been just about the money." I blinked, trying to absorb the information. "What are you talking about? What does this have to do with Olivia? And why is my mother involved?" Olivia took a step forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your mother wasn't just hiding wealth, Ethan. She was hiding something far more valuable. Something that you're now a part of, whether you realize it or not." She hesitated, her eyes searching mine for some sign that I might understand. "Your mother and I. We were part of something bigger. Something dangerous." I could feel the ground slipping beneath me. The words didn't make sense. Olivia, my wife, who I had trusted more than anyone, had been involved in some conspiracy with my mother? My mind was struggling to catch up with what she was saying. "What? What do you mean?" I asked, my voice shaking with confusion. "What were you a part of? What's going on?" Simon stepped in again, his eyes piercing. "We're talking about a secret society, Ethan. A group that's been operating in the shadows for generations. Your mother was a key player. And Olivia, well, she was chosen for a reason. To carry on what your mother started. You've been part of this from the beginning, too, whether you like it or not." My head was spinning. A secret society? My mother? Olivia? What kind of twisted web had they all been tangled in? "You're lying," I snapped, but the words didn't sound convincing even to me. The look in Olivia's eyes told me she wasn't lying. She was hiding something, yes, but she wasn't lying. "What's the point of all this? What do you want from me?" Simon's gaze never left mine. "We want you to take your place, Ethan. Your mother left you everything for a reason. The mansion, the wealth, it's all part of something much larger. Your mother knew the time would come when you would have to choose. And that time is now." Olivia stepped closer, her expression softening. "I never wanted to drag you into this. But you're part of it now. You're part of us. And you need to understand that we've all been playing a part in something that's bigger than just us. You can't escape it. You never could." The words hung in the air like a noose. The world I had known, the life I thought I had, was slipping away, unraveling piece by piece. And the woman I had married, the one I had trusted above all others, had been hiding her true self from me all along. She wasn't the person I thought she was. None of them were. I could feel the ground beneath me shift, the weight of the truth pressing down on me like an avalanche. My mother, Olivia, Simon. They had all been part of something that was far more dangerous than I could ever imagine. And now, I was stuck in the middle of it. I couldn't breathe. Every word Simon spoke felt like a punch to my gut, knocking the air out of me. A secret society? A life I had no idea about, hidden from me by my own wife? It was as if the world I had built with Olivia was nothing but a facade. The quiet life, the stability, the love we shared, it was all built on a lie. The pieces of the puzzle that had once seemed to fit together so perfectly were now scattered, and I was left in the dark, trying to piece it all together. I stood there, frozen, trying to process everything. My hands were shaking, and the weight of the situation was overwhelming. I had thought I knew Olivia. I had thought I knew the woman I had married, the one I had shared my life with for the past 7 years. But now, I wasn't sure who she really was. And worse, I didn't know if I could trust her anymore. What do you mean, take my place? I asked, my voice hoarse. I couldn't even recognize it as my own. What is all of this about? What does this society want from me? Simon looked at me as if I were a child asking a simple question. His eyes were cold, calculating, as if he had expected this reaction. The society has been around for centuries, Ethan. It's a group of individuals who control power, real, unspoken power. They operate in the shadows, influencing events, shaping history. Your mother was one of them. And now, with her passing, it's your turn. I felt a knot form in my stomach. But I don't want any part of this. I don't want anything to do with your secret society or whatever you're talking about. Simon smiled, a slow, almost pitying smile. You don't get a choice, Ethan. It's not about what you want. Your bloodline has been tied to this for generations. Your mother knew it, and now you know it too. You've always been a part of it. You just didn't know. You think this inheritance is a coincidence? That mansion, the wealth, the documents you found, it's all part of a plan. A plan that's been set in motion long before you were born. Olivia stood next to Simon, her eyes filled with something unreadable. Ethan, I never wanted you to be caught up in this. But when your mother passed, the responsibility shifted to you. I tried to keep you safe, tried to protect you from it, but you've always been a part of this world. You just didn't know it. I could feel the anger building inside me. You lied to me. You hid this from me. All these years. What else haven't you told me, Olivia? She didn't answer immediately. She looked away for a moment, as if searching for the right words. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter, tinged with regret. I didn't know how to tell you, Ethan. You had a normal life. A life you deserved. I thought if I kept you away from this, we could have something real, something safe. But that was selfish of me. I was protecting myself too. I didn't want to lose you. Simon interjected, his tone sharp. This isn't about you, Olivia. This is about the legacy. And Ethan has to decide whether he will accept it or walk away. The choice is his. I looked back at Simon, the anger rising to the surface. And what happens if I don't accept it? What if I want nothing to do with this? Simon's smile faded, and the room seemed to grow colder. You don't understand. This isn't just about wealth or power. This is about survival. You think your mother's death was just a natural occurrence? Think again. She was targeted. And if you don't take your place in this society, you'll be next. They won't stop until they have what they want. I felt the blood drain from my face. Who are they? Who wants me dead? Simon took a step closer, his voice low and threatening. That's not something you need to know yet. But trust me, Ethan, there's no escaping this. Your mother knew the risks, and she prepared you. The mansion, the wealth, the journal, it was all a part of her plan. It's your turn now. I took a step back, my mind spinning. This was insane. My mother had been murdered? And now, I was supposed to take her place in some secret society? A part of me wanted to laugh, to dismiss it all as some twisted joke. But the look on Simon's face told me this was anything but a joke. And the fear in Olivia's eyes, her desperate, pleading gaze, told me she wasn't lying. I can't do this, I said, my voice trembling. I don't want to be a part of your society. I just want to live my life. I want things to go back to normal. Olivia stepped forward, her hand reaching out to me. Ethan, please. I understand. But there's no going back. You're already in too deep. You don't know what they'll do if you refuse. You have to make a choice. Accept it, or risk losing everything. The weight of her words hit me like a sledgehammer. This wasn't just about power or control anymore. This was about survival. If I rejected the society, I'd be walking into a death trap. But if I accepted, what kind of person would I become? What kind of monster was I about to join? Think about it, Simon added, his voice cold. Your mother didn't die by accident. Someone made sure of that. And they won't stop until you're part of this, whether you want to be or not. I felt trapped, suffocated by the choices in front of me. I could see the fear in Olivia's eyes, the fear that mirrored my own. We were both caught in something bigger than us, something we couldn't escape. But I wasn't ready to make that decision. Not yet. I need time to think, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my head. I'm not making any decisions right now. Simon's eyes narrowed, but he didn't argue. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer is off the table. Choose wisely. With that, Simon turned and walked out of the room, leaving me standing there with Olivia. The silence between us was suffocating. Olivia finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan, I never wanted this. I never wanted to drag you into it. But now you know, and there's no turning back. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to think. But I knew one thing for sure. My life would never be the same again. The night stretched on, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts, each one tugging at me in a different direction. I sat in the darkened living room, alone, the weight of Simon's words still heavy in my chest. It felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies, each one thicker and deeper than the last. Olivia had confessed so much, and yet, I still didn't understand it all. Why had she kept me in the dark for so long? Was I just a pawn in a game far beyond my comprehension? The clock ticked slowly, each second feeling like an eternity. I kept going over everything in my mind. The inheritance, the mansion, the journal, my mother's hidden life, and the society. It was all too much, and the more I thought about it, the less I knew what to believe. Was Simon telling the truth? Was Olivia involved in this society willingly? Or was she trapped too? I glanced at the front door. Olivia had left hours ago, and I hadn't heard a word from her since. Her silence felt like a betrayal. She knew things I didn't. I had trusted her with my life, and now it felt like everything I thought I knew about her had been a lie. But what if she hadn't had a choice? What if she had been forced into this? The way she looked at me earlier, like a woman on the verge of losing everything, made me wonder if there was more to her story than I was willing to admit. Maybe she wasn't the one to blame here. Maybe she was just as much a victim as I was. I ran my hands through my hair, trying to make sense of it all. But the truth was, I was scared. Scared of what I might discover. Scared of what this society was capable of. And more than anything, I was scared of losing Olivia. No matter how much she had kept from me, I couldn't deny that I loved her. Despite everything, I still wanted to believe in us. The thought of walking away, of rejecting everything Simon had offered, seemed impossible now. If I said no, if I walked away from this society, they would come after me. They would come after Olivia. And knowing that, how could I just turn my back on her? How could I leave her to face whatever consequences awaited us? My phone buzzed on the coffee table, snapping me out of my thoughts. It was a message from Olivia. Just 3 words. Meet me now. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my keys and rushed out the door, the cold night air hitting me like a slap in the face. I drove quickly, my mind racing. Where was she? What did she want to say? Was she coming to me with more secrets? Or was she about to confess everything? I parked in front of the small cafe where we'd gone on our first date. It was a familiar place, one that held memories of a simpler time, before everything had become so complicated. Olivia was already sitting at a table near the window, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the streetlights outside. She looked tired, her eyes red, but she didn't seem surprised when she saw me. I walked over to her, trying to steady my breath, but my heart was pounding in my chest. The silence between us was thick, charged with tension. Ethan, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. I know I owe you an explanation. I don't know how to start, but I need you to understand. Everything I did because I thought I was protecting you. I never wanted this life for you. But I can't hide from it anymore. The society, it's real, and we're caught in it. There's no way out. Not for me. Not for you. I sat down across from her, my gaze never leaving hers. I don't understand, Olivia. Why didn't you tell me? Why keep me in the dark for all these years? Her face tightened, a flicker of pain crossing her features. Because I didn't want to lose you. I wanted to have a normal life with you, Ethan. I thought if I kept you away from this, we could be happy. But the moment your mother passed, I knew it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. And now you're in this whether you like it or not. I don't care about their society. I snapped, the frustration building up inside me. I care about us, Olivia. I care about what's real. I don't want to be part of this. Olivia reached out, her hand trembling as it hovered over mine. You don't understand. It's not about what you want anymore. It never was. You've been chosen, Ethan. Your mother knew this day would come, and she prepared you for it. The mansion, the wealth, the journal, it's all part of something bigger. Something that's been planned for generations. I pulled my hand away, my chest tightening. And what's that something? What do they want from me? She lowered her gaze, unable to meet my eyes. Power. Control. It's about shaping the future. This society isn't just a group of people. It's an institution, a force that influences everything. The money and wealth? That's just the surface. What they really want is what you can offer them. The bloodline. The legacy. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My entire life had been a lie. My mother's death, Olivia's involvement, the inheritance, it was all a part of some dark plan I couldn't even begin to understand. I don't know if I can do this, I said, my voice shaking with disbelief. I don't know if I can be part of something like this. Olivia's voice broke as she spoke. Ethan, I'm not asking you to like it. I'm asking you to survive. I'm asking you to protect yourself. Protect us. I looked at her, my heart breaking. So what now? What am I supposed to do? She stood up, walking around the table to stand in front of me. You have 24 hours. That's all the time you have to decide. Either you accept your place, or they will make you regret it. There's no going back, Ethan. No second chances. Her words echoed in my mind as I stared at her, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. I didn't want to accept this life. I didn't want to be part of whatever this was. But the truth was, I had no choice. They would come for me, for us, whether I was ready or not. And if I rejected it, I would be signing our death sentences. I had to choose, and I had no idea what the right answer was. The drive home was a blur. My mind was too consumed with Olivia's words, the weight of her confession pressing on my chest. The quiet hum of the engine seemed like a distant sound, as though I were listening from a dream. She had said it herself. There was no turning back. I had 24 hours to decide whether to embrace a future that wasn't mine to choose or to reject it and risk losing everything. The uncertainty was unbearable, gnawing at me with every passing second. I had thought I understood the world around me, my life, my marriage, my mother's death. But now, it felt as if everything had been orchestrated, as though I had been walking in the dark all this time, blind to the forces at play. And those forces weren't just a distant shadow anymore. They were real, tangible, and now they had set their sights on me. I parked my car in front of the house and sat there for a moment, staring at the front door. It was like I was looking at a different life, a different world, one that didn't belong to me anymore. I had been given a choice, but was it even a choice at all? Was I really free to walk away from this? Or was I already too deep? My mind felt like it was unraveling. I took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. The familiar warmth of home seemed foreign to me now, like stepping into a house that was never mine. When I entered, I expected Olivia to be there, waiting for me, ready to talk. But the house was eerily silent. I walked through the darkened hallways, the floorboards creaking under my weight, and found the living room empty. I noticed the faint smell of something cooking in the kitchen, but it didn't feel like home. It felt like I was being watched, like someone was waiting for me to make my move. I walked into the kitchen and found Olivia standing by the stove, stirring something absent-mindedly in a pot. The soft glow of the overhead lights cast a warm, gentle light over her, but it felt out of place, like an illusion. I could tell she was trying to act normal, trying to pretend like everything was okay, but I wasn't buying it. I wasn't that naive anymore. Ethan, she said, her voice softer than before. She didn't turn around, didn't look at me as I stood in the doorway. I'm sorry for what happened earlier. I know this is all a lot to take in, but please, understand that I never wanted to hurt you. I couldn't just stand there and pretend like I hadn't heard everything she said. I couldn't pretend that the world hadn't shifted beneath my feet. I don't know if I can forgive you for this, I said, my voice thick with frustration. You've kept me in the dark for years, Olivia. Years. How am I supposed to trust you now? You've been hiding who you really are from me, and I don't know if I can just forget that." She finally turned to face me, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and desperation. "I didn't know how to tell you, Ethan. I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want you to be a part of this world. But now that it's come to this, there's no going back." I stepped closer, my emotions rising like a tidal wave. "I don't want this world, Olivia. I never asked for it. This society, I don't know if I can be part of it. I don't even know if I want to be with you if this is who you really are." Her face faltered, and for a moment, I saw something break inside her. But she quickly recovered, her expression hardening once again. "You don't have a choice. This isn't about us anymore, Ethan. It's about survival. If you walk away from this, if you reject it, they'll come for us. And I won't let them take you. I won't let them take me." I shook my head, trying to make sense of what she was saying. "But what's the cost, Olivia? What will we become if we accept this? What happens if we play their game?" She lowered her eyes, her voice trembling. "You'll have everything you could ever want. Power, influence, control. But at what cost, Ethan? You'll be a part of something bigger, something that can't be undone. You'll be part of a legacy, a bloodline that stretches back for centuries. And once you accept, there's no turning back. You'll lose yourself in it." I took a step back, my head spinning. It was like I was hearing her, but not hearing her at all. The words didn't make sense. It didn't make sense that I had to choose between my own freedom and becoming a part of something that I could barely comprehend. "You want me to choose between my life, my soul, and power. That's your choice, Olivia? That's the future you're offering me?" Olivia's expression softened for the briefest moment, but then she looked away, unable to meet my eyes. "No, it's not what I want for you. It's not what I wanted for myself. But this is what we are. This is what we've always been. And if you don't accept it, we will both be destroyed." The room felt like it was closing in around me, the air heavy with her words. I could feel the walls pressing in, the weight of the decision I had to make bearing down on me. Olivia's eyes were pleading with me, but behind them, I saw something darker, something I couldn't ignore. I ran my hand through my hair, trying to make sense of it all. But no matter how much I thought about it, the truth kept coming back to the same thing. I had no choice. There was no easy way out of this. Olivia was right about one thing. I was already too deep. The moment my mother passed away, I was drawn into this world, whether I liked it or not. It wasn't just about wealth or power, it was about survival. And now, if I walked away, I risked everything. I could feel the decision closing in around me like a trap. I had 24 hours. What was I supposed to do? I looked at Olivia one last time, and for the first time since all of this started, I saw her clearly, trapped, just like me. She wasn't the enemy here. We were both victims of something far greater than ourselves. "I need time," I said quietly, my voice shaky. "I need to think." She nodded slowly, her eyes dark with regret. "I understand. Just be careful, Ethan. Time isn't on our side." And with that, I left. The door clicked shut behind me, and the cold night air hit my face like a slap. But no matter how much I tried to breathe in the freedom of the night, I knew it was already slipping away. The next few hours were a blur. I walked the streets aimlessly, my mind wrestling with the impossible decision that lay ahead of me. Each step felt heavier than the last, like I was trudging through deep mud, unable to escape. The weight of the secrets I had uncovered, the darkness that seemed to swallow every part of my life, pressed down on me with crushing force. I didn't know how long I had been walking when I found myself standing in front of the mansion. The estate that had once seemed like a mystery, a place filled with my mother's hidden life, now seemed to embody everything I had learned, everything I was now a part of. I had come here, not to explore, not to find more answers, but to face the truth. I had to make my decision. The society, the power, the legacy, it all circled around me like vultures, waiting for me to make the choice. But standing there, in front of the mansion, I realized something. No one else was going to decide my fate but me. Olivia had been right about one thing. There was no turning back. But what she hadn't told me was that I could still make the choice to live my life on my terms, to redefine the legacy that had been thrust upon me. I didn't have to play their game. I didn't have to lose myself in a world I couldn't control. I took a deep breath, the cool night air filling my lungs as I looked up at the mansion. In that moment, everything became clear. I had a choice, and I would make it for myself. I turned and walked away from the mansion, not with the weight of fate hanging over me, but with the lightness of freedom in my chest. As I walked back to the car, I knew what I had to do. The life I had imagined, simple, grounded, full of love and honesty, it was still within my reach. I didn't have to sacrifice it all for something I couldn't understand. I didn't need power, control, or some secret legacy. I needed Olivia. I needed the woman I had married, the woman I had shared my life with, the woman who had stood by me despite everything. I needed to find a way to rebuild trust, to heal the wounds we both had caused. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was willing to try. I reached the house and opened the door to find Olivia sitting in the living room, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. She looked up when she heard me enter, and for a moment, we just stood there, staring at each other in silence. "I've made my decision," I said, my voice steady but full of emotion. Olivia's eyes flickered with fear, and for a brief moment, I thought she might pull away, bracing herself for the rejection she expected. But I couldn't reject her. Not after everything. "I'm not joining them, Olivia," I said quietly. "I'm not joining this society, this legacy. I refuse to live my life in the shadows of power and secrets. I don't need that." Her face softened, and tears welled up in her eyes. "Ethan, I don't know what to say. I was afraid you'd walk away. I thought you'd hate me." I shook my head. "I don't hate you. I don't blame you. I can't lose myself in all of this. I can't lose you either." Olivia stood up, slowly walking toward me. She reached for my hands, her grip tight, as though afraid I might slip away. "I don't want to lose you, Ethan. I never wanted any of this. But I don't know what to do either. I was too scared to let you see the truth." I smiled softly, pulling her closer. "We'll figure it out, together. We don't need the power, the secrets. We just need each other. I can't promise it will be easy, but I promise I won't walk away from you again." For the first time in what felt like ages, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. I had made my choice, and it wasn't about running from my past or hiding from the truth. It was about creating a future where I could breathe again, where I could be myself. The next day, I went to the mansion one last time, this time with Olivia by my side. We walked through the grand halls, not as visitors, but as people reclaiming their own future. I knew the mansion held many secrets, but it no longer held any power over me. It was just a house, a place that would no longer dictate my life. When we left, I made sure to lock the door behind me, leaving the past in the past. Whatever lay ahead, I knew one thing. It would be ours to define. Olivia and I returned to our home, not as a couple trapped in a web of lies and secrets, but as two people determined to build something new, a life based on trust, honesty, and love.